Here I'll show you how to add the motors to the drivetrain, and then an optional thing you can do so that the outmost gear or the driver gear from the motor actually spins with this axle when you animate the model. Okay, that will be optional. So to put the motors onto your drivetrain, keep in mind there's some things going on here that are just kind of extraneous. Don't worry about those things for now. We're going to clean it all up later. It looks like I even have an extra 11 millimeter shaft floating here, but we'll deal with that later. So here's what you need to do. Bring in your motors, okay? And so there's one, and there's the other, okay? So I brought those in. Those are the 393 motor. And now I'm setting those as rigid groups, okay? So that's what you're seeing in the history here now. I showed you that trick earlier in an earlier video. You've got to select everything you want, and in this case I want everything except for this wire, okay, because we don't really need that wire. To create a rigid group, I did that with the other one now. Okay, and now I'm importing the, you'll see the bolts here, okay? So those are coming in. These are the 6/32 screws because that's what fits in the motor. I'm bringing a whole bunch in. All right, and capture position. And next, I start placing them inside here, okay? And so when I do that, I know that there's going to be actually a little bit of space. It'll be, namely, it's the metal from this piece here. That space will be between, the head of the bolts and then this part of this, not the smaller one, but this bigger one. So that distance between those, when you join those, it's a rigid joint, it'll be 0.047 inches. Okay, that's how thick this metal is. All right. So I'm going ahead and joining all those little bolts there. Let's see if I do it with the other one too. Probably, yeah. Okay, it's underneath, but you see that last one came in. Okay, so let's go back to this view. So that's what you need to do first. And then what I'm about to show you, I think that's going to be the next thing we're looking at. To my knowledge, is the first time I'm actually going to have you create what we would call in an assembly like this, an interference that is completely intentional and honestly kind of bad etiquette, bad practice for Fusion 360. Okay, so here's the reason we have to do this. What we want to do is bring this motor onto this drive shaft, right? And so that means the screws here, the bolts, need to be through this chassis rail over here. Not chassis rail, whatever that thing's called. Chassis rail? Anyway, so the problem is, you'll see right here, we've already got a pop rivet. Okay, and you think, oh, why don't we just delete the pop rivet? Well, we actually put in this whole bearing flat component that has both pop rivets already as part of it. So what I would have to do is I'd actually have to, I mean, this wouldn't take forever, but I'd have to delete this whole component from here, and then either create a new component that just has one pop rivet. And in fact, I don't think that would even work on the other side because it's going to be a mirror image. All right. So you would just bring in, the bearing flat and then a new pop rivet. You'd have to join those back in. Okay. So we're going to intentionally put a screw inside of this, and that's what they would call an interference. Okay. But that's the next step then. So we've actually got to join, this thing here to this space over here. All right. So let's see how I do that here. Okay. So yeah, I brought it over here. What I think I did is I probably chose, for when I made my joint, to hit J for joint, I probably chose this, I don't know, maybe area here, okay? Or I clicked on this first, this face, and then I took one of the arrows that'll show up for making a joint. And then I came around and, looked at my motor here and then chose this, okay, to make a rigid joint. Probably actually chose this guy, all right? And so then I actually, once I hit join, I would have positioned it so that it's in there just right, okay? One thing you might have to do, and I had to do, was when I went to actually finish it, I had to hit that flip key that's at the bottom of the joint so that the motor was the correct orientation, all right? And yeah, once you do that, you can just assume that this is going in the right distance inside there, and you're pretty much set. All right, so we're going to see what that looks like here with that on there. Looks like it's taken a sec. I'll pause it here. Okay, so there it is, and we'll bring in that other one. All right, so there's that. And at this point, that's all you have to do. Everything else from now on is optional in this video. Okay, so let me show you the optional part. So I've got my motors in here, and this is pretty cool. So now I've actually got this part of the motor joined or in a motion link with the rest of this assembly, so that when I animate this thing, you'll see it spins freely with it. So let's try that. Animate model. And it was doing that. Oh, the reason it hasn't, I'm not all the way forward in my history yet. Let's do that first. Okay, so hit escape, and then let's bring this all the way forward. Okay, so now we'll animate the drivetrain. And check it out. It is actually spinning with that. All right, pretty cool, right? Now, frankly, everything else inside of there is not spinning. So again, that would be what we're calling an interference, right? Because the teeth of the gears inside would actually be like just ripping through the others, but we can't see that, so it's not really a big deal. And I've actually got this set up on the other side as well, so we can go check that out. Let's do bottom, pan over, and whoops. That is not doing it the way I want, but you can see it's turning there, right? Okay, or actually, well, let's turn it the opposite way, so I'll have to fix that later. But, so they'll show you how to do this, all right? So what I did, hit escape, is I went back to my motor, all right, and I actually deleted this part, okay? So I opened the motor design. I found just this screw here, all right, or not screw, but this, it's essentially a driver gear, and I deleted it, okay? Before I deleted it, I made a copy of it, okay? So I found essentially, like, I selected it here, found where it was, okay? And I said, I right-clicked, I said, open. Okay, so I opened it as its own design, like this, all right? Once I did that, I saved it. Okay, I saved it in the same folder. It's in the power folder. And then I came back to here, deleted the thing, okay? And then I, came over to this, I came to my output gear, and I said insert into current design. Okay, so when I did that, let's get rid of that now, I basically did a revolve constraint or a revolute, which I'll show you up here. So it's a revolute, and it's the only joint that's in this thing currently. And yeah, when I'm highlighting over it, you can see where it is. And I made essentially the circle for that driver gear revolute inside this circle right here, okay? What that's gonna allow us to do is when we come back to this file, now, even though I set the whole thing as a rigid joint, it will still apparently respect the fact that I have that joint in there, okay? So what I did is I created, you'll see I've got over here, ooh, this thing is all the way over. Apparently it's not right now, and I can't really get to that. But I created a motion link, okay? And to do that, essentially I just joined, I did, assemble, motion link, and I selected, yes, this drivetrain, and I went to this. It can be hard to find this thing right here. So what you might want to do is you can, essentially, let's cancel here, click on that, just that piece, right? And say find in browser. And it's going to show you, you might think these are all the parts you've used in this Clawbot so far. Wrong. They are all the parts just inside that motor, okay? Which has this weird name, 2-wire motor. These are all the parts in here, okay? So what's cool is it shows you this gear, and in fact, you can just go to joints, and there's that joint, all right? So you do a motion link between this joint here, and then bring this all the way up, what I was showing you, your like left drive gear revolute, okay? Those two joints, and you'll get this thing I was showing you where they will spin together. All right, that's it.